I move on up, Mr. President.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very impressed with your presentation, as well as your mission and the goals of what you're trying to do. And, you know, I'm a strong believer that there's a direct link between education and economic development.
Yes, sir.
I believe those two things go together, and sometimes we don't, many of us or some of us don't really see it that way.
Yes, sir.
But those two things really are integrated. I see in the material that you gave us, you have the application in here for funding from Caddo Parish, and I believe our parish attorney brought up an issue here about the use of the funds not being able to go to for-profit corporations. But what I was trying to get a good sense of from you was, you were saying that this is also an economic development initiative.
Yes, sir.
And I'm trying to get a good sense, if you can, in a nutshell, of what aspects of this do you feel is an economic development initiative?
Well, that's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked it, Mr. Jenkins. Let's talk about the children first, because this is about children first. Schools. I heard you talk about Southwest Airlines, and I heard you talk about infrastructure, and I read your zoning PLA and all of that. If you look in the newspaper, you're looking for a house. If you were in Northeast Louisiana, you would see Lexington School District. You would see Jack Hayes School District, and the houses are more money. There's never an ad that says in the George Washington Carver School District or in the Booker Washington School District. I'm not trying to be, I don't know of a Booker Washington in Monroe, so that's why I called it, made up a name. But I think you get the picture. In Baxter, I started an SOS Save Our School committee back in 1991, and I hate to use personal pronouns, but it was an economic development issue to save our schools because we could not get plants to come to replace IP. We lost IP in the national paper, our largest employer. We don't have anyone to take IP's place because our test scores were down, 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 and when you say, come locate in Shreveport, then the first thing that the employers or the plant manager is going to say, well, let me look at the schools because I have school-age children. And when they look at schools, the next thing they're going to say is, where in Shreveport am I going to live? If I live here, I like this house, but I'm not going to buy it because I don't want to get to go to that neighborhood school. So we had to invest to create a magnet school for economic development reasons, so that property values in all parts of town would remain up because it wouldn't matter where you lived. But if the schools were high-performance schools, then we wouldn't need a central school in order that no matter where you lived, you could still send your child to the school, provided that you were willing to, subject your child to more rigor. So there's no separating education. Economic development starts with education. If you've got high-performing schools, and you've got kids coming out of those schools with 32s and 30s and 28s and 27s, no parent is going to be afraid because of color or any other reason to send their child to a school that can produce scholars. That's economic development. It keeps your real estate cost everywhere. It keeps you from having red line zones everywhere. It starts with the school. And I don't know how to simplify, Mr. Jenkins, but it starts with the school. And we can talk about what it does to the child when he has to get out of Grambling and owe $29,800. He's got 6 months to start fessing up and getting ready to pay back the student loan. What happens to his, I don't have to tell you, because you're all successful. And you know what it does to a FICO score when you've got the Department of Education or the loan people, coming saying, hey, you remember us? We've been good to you for 5 years now.